He didn't stalk the streets at night like most killers you hear about in stories. He didn't force his way into homes or break through locked doors under cover of darkness. He wore a hospital uniform that made people trust him instantly, calm and unsuspecting. He checked heart monitors as if it were part of a normal, ordinary night shift routine. He whispered calmly to patients lying weak and helpless in their hospital beds late at night. Patients who completely trusted him without doubt, suspicion, or any fear at all. Machines beeped softly all around them in the quiet darkness of the ward. The hospital felt peaceful, controlled, and almost calm, a place safe for the night. But inside that silence, this nurse quietly made dangerous and irreversible decisions about lives. Decisions about who would survive the long, cold night without incident or harm. And decisions about who would quietly die without ever knowing why or how. Because the most dangerous place that night wasn't somewhere outside these hospital walls. It was hidden deep inside, where patients trusted strangers the most, completely defenseless. The very place meant to heal, protect, and preserve life became a place of danger. A hospital is where people surrender complete control over their bodies and lives. You lie still on a bed, trusting strangers around you to care for you. Your body is weak, exhausted, and often in unbearable pain or discomfort. Sometimes you're barely conscious, drifting in and out of awareness, almost unaware. You trust the hands, carefully adjusting tubes and IV lines without hesitation. You trust the calm movements, quietly happening beside your bed, in silence. You trust the soothing voice telling you everything will be completely fine. You believe everyone there genuinely wants to save your life completely. You never imagined the real danger might be standing right beside you. Now imagine this situation clearly in your mind. Feeling entirely alone and vulnerable, you're alone in a dark hospital ward during the cold, quiet, long night. Machines hum quietly beside you, filling the room with a soft, constant rhythm. The lights are dimmed low to allow patients to rest peacefully, undisturbed. Footsteps echo faintly through long, empty hallways in the eerie silence, and the person standing quietly beside your bed isn't here to help you. They're here to watch, wait, and decide who will live or die tonight. In Germany, that trust was completely shattered in ways no one imagined possible, because the killer wasn't breaking into hospitals. He was clocking in for work. He blended into the system, unnoticed, appearing calm, ordinary, and reliable. His name was Niels Högel, a name that sounded ordinary and harmless. Quiet, polite, and seemingly respectful, he never raised suspicion at all. Soft-spoken and calm, he carried himself as a normal, dependable hospital nurse. He worked long night shifts in German hospitals, mostly without direct supervision. Colleagues said he remained calm under extreme pressure when others panicked. When alarms rang loudly, many nurses and doctors rushed in with panic. Niels didn't panic. He calmly took control and guided the situation expertly. He rushed in when emergencies suddenly happened during the dark and quiet nights. He took control of chaotic situations immediately with authority and confidence. He gave precise orders to the staff in moments of absolute crisis. Families thanked him for saving their loved ones during frightening emergencies. Doctors trusted him without hesitation, believing he was doing the right thing. Some even said the ward felt safer whenever Niels was working at night. But behind that calm, helpful exterior was something far darker and terrifying. Night shifts are different, with fewer doctors and less supervision overall. Most patients are asleep, unconscious, and completely defenseless at night. That's when the pattern quietly began, undetected by the hospital staff. A patient who had been stable for many long hours would suddenly collapse. The heart monitor would scream alarms, piercing the eerie night silence. A code blue would be urgently called, staff rushing frantically to respond. And somehow, every single time, Niels was always there first. Sometimes the patient survived, and Niels was praised as a hero by all. Sometimes the patient didn't survive at all, and no one noticed immediately. Slowly, cardiac arrests stopped being shocking. They became routine and expected. At first, doctors blamed weak hearts, old age, or medical complications. But patterns like these never remain hidden forever from keen observers. Some nurses noticed something deeply disturbing about the frequency of collapses. Patients were falling without clear medical reasons on certain night shifts, and Niels was almost always present when these emergencies occurred. Quiet questions began surfacing in the hallways, whispered among worried staff. Fear and doubt mixed as more staff became aware of the unusual pattern. The most dangerous failure wasn't medical. It was administrative and human. Accusing a nurse of murder seemed impossible, almost unthinkable to the staff. If they were wrong, they could ruin an innocent man's life completely. If they were right, patients were already dead, lost forever, without justice. Years later, investigators uncovered evidence that shocked the nation profoundly. Some patients never needed to die at all. Their deaths were entirely avoidable. The truth was far worse than anyone could have imagined initially. Niels was secretly injecting patients with powerful, unprescribed medications at night. Drugs designed to trigger cardiac arrest, creating sudden emergencies deliberately. Medications intended to manipulate life and death for his own twisted control. So, who decides which patient will die quietly tonight without any warning? Why would someone commit such a horrifying act inside a hospital? Because Niels wanted absolute control over life and death in the ward. He craved chaos, then praise for successfully saving patients he endangered. Emergencies became his performances, and he was the admired star of them. Without chaos, he felt invisible, unimportant, and unnoticed by everyone. Doctors became his audience, and patients became the tragic cost of his games. Sometimes his rescue attempts worked, reinforcing praise from grateful families. Sometimes they failed, leaving patients dead alone in the darkness. Eventually, concerns reached hospital management, but no one acted decisively. Instead of calling the police, they made the dangerous choice of silence. He was quietly transferred to another hospital without alerting authorities at all. No investigation was opened, no public record created, no warning issued. Just silence, protecting a reputation at the expense of human life. At the next hospital, the same chilling pattern returned once again. Stable patients suddenly collapsed without warning during night shifts repeatedly. Unexplained deaths continued as families remained confused and grieving endlessly. Doctors felt something was deeply wrong, but struggled to imagine the truth. Accepting a serial killer nurse was almost impossible for anyone to believe. Accepting it meant admitting the system had failed completely and dangerously. These weren't statistics. These were parents, grandparents, and real human beings. People who trusted the wrong place at the wrong time paid the cost. Finally, one brave doctor refused to stay silent, demanding investigation into the deaths. And slowly, everything began to change as records were reopened carefully. Medical files were examined thoroughly, line by line, for any suspicious anomalies. One anomaly led to another and then another, forming a terrifying pattern. Every record told the same horrifying story. Life lost where help should have arrived. Rooms grew quiet as files piled up, revealing the tragic consequences of inaction. Niels Högel was finally arrested, ending his reign of silent terror inside hospitals. What followed shocked the entire nation, revealing horrors that had been hidden. Graves were opened across the country, bodies exhumed for forensic testing carefully. Investigators believe he may have killed over 100 innocent patients over many years. During interrogation, Niels showed no regret, speaking calmly about his actions. He admitted he enjoyed the attention, admiration, and feeling of absolute control. Human lives had become routine, nothing more than events in his night shift performances. Just another shift, another emergency, another life lost silently under his hands. Niels Högel was sentenced to life imprisonment, yet the story didn't end there. Hospitals across the system were investigated, uncovering ignored warnings and overlooked complaints. This wasn't just the crime of one man. It was a systemic failure as well. A system that chose silence over human life, allowing tragedies to repeat unnoticed. Hospitals are meant to heal and protect, yet sometimes danger hides within. Remember these victims and their stories, as their lives demand we never forget. Awareness is the only weapon against this kind of hidden horror today. Share their story, tell others, because silence allows systems to fail repeatedly. Subscribe, support accountability, and make sure these voices are heard. Stand against negligence, demand transparency, and honor the lives lost unjustly. Never forget the patients who trusted care and lost it completely. Never underestimate the power of awareness and speaking up against wrongdoing. Human life is precious, and hospitals must be safe for everyone. Each life lost reminds us of the cost of inaction and ignorance. Every staff member, every policy, every oversight can save or end a life. The failures here teach a lesson we cannot ignore. Accountability and vigilance are the shields against silent killers in plain sight. We must remember the victims to prevent history from repeating. Let these stories serve as a warning and a call for constant awareness. Hospitals are meant to protect life, not conceal death and terror. Speak up, demand justice, and never allow silence to become deadly. Awareness, vigilance, and action are the only tools we have to save lives. Lives lost in darkness must be remembered, so mistakes are never repeated. Families affected deserve justice and transparency, not neglect or excuses. The system failed before, but awareness can prevent another tragedy. Niels Högel's actions remind us that evil can hide in plain sight, but knowledge, vigilance, and accountability are stronger than silence or fear. Let us honor every victim by standing up for safety and justice. Hospitals must always prioritize life over reputation or convenience. Patients must be protected at all costs, with constant care and oversight. Every emergency must be handled with transparency, never with hidden agendas. Policies must be enforced to ensure no one else suffers silently. Staff must speak out and investigate any sign of wrongdoing. Awareness among patients, families, and staff is critical to prevent repetition. Strong systems and constant vigilance are the only defenses against hidden harm. Silence kills, but attention, reporting, and accountability save lives consistently. Each patient is a human being, deserving protection, care, and respect. We cannot let convenience or reputation outweigh human life ever again. Remember these victims to honor them and to prevent future tragedies. Never forget, always question, and never allow negligence to continue. Speak up, share knowledge, demand justice, and hold systems accountable. Awareness transforms hospitals from places of risk into true places of healing. Subscribe, share, and ensure these stories remain alive in memory and action, because remembering the victims, standing up, and demanding change saves lives.